Today you join me on the highway to Grand Rapids to find a fourth trailer jack. I don't know if you can see back there, but I picked up three 3,500 pound trailer jacks from Harbor Freight, which we are going to use to jack this thing up. And I also need to go to a steel supplier in the area to, oh shit, that's a huge pothole. Need to find some steel to make some brackets to it so we can take them on and off. I'm also going to use the same brackets to put on some loops for the tie downs when we're driving. So I guess we'll see you when we get there. All right, I am back from driving cross country to get everything that I needed. I started off by grabbing three of these things from my local Harbor Freight. They are Hallmaster 3,500 pound capacity weld-on trailer jacks. Very simple design, robust, square tube. Yeah, that's all there is to say about it. They're designed to be welded onto things, so that's exactly what I was looking for. And I had to pick up the fourth one at the Grand Rapids Harbor Freight. Mine only had three, and the Grand Rapids one only had three as well. I think that's as much as they stock. But that's a weird looking butterfly. Anyways, picked up a bunch of steel while I was there in Grand Rapids from GR Central Iron and Steel. Super awesome people to work with, very nice and helpful. They'll help you find everything you're looking for. And they will also let you drive your vehicle back in the yard and help you load it up. You can just walk around the yard all you want, find what you need, go back and pay for it, drive in, they'll help you load it up, and it's as simple as that. It's like I felt like a kid in a candy store walking through there. It was a super cool place to be, and I will definitely be doing business with them again. So until then, we have everything we need to work with for now. I have one, I think it's like a 7-footer. This is all used steel. I got it for a very good price, and it's going to be plenty for what I need to do. So this is a 2.5-inch square tubing 14 gauge, and I have 4 2-inch square tubing, I think also 14 gauge. Either way, it's thick. It's going to be plenty for what I need, so I'm not worried about that. And then I picked up a 6-foot piece of flat stock 1/4 inch as shims, because these slide into here and they're a little bit loose. So I'm hoping I can kind of shim them to make them a little bit tighter in there. Might not need it, I don't know. I need to figure that out. But for now, I got that just in case. I will need it for other stuff as well, so it doesn't matter. And then I got some 12-inch by 12-inch plate steel 3/16. That's super thick and strong stuff right there. It's going to be plenty for what we need. So that's all the steel that I got. I had to go to Lowe's and pick up all the bolts and hardware and everything that I'll need. I picked up a new angle grinder because I don't know where the other one's at, and it was kind of a piece of junk anyway. This isn't the most expensive one you can buy, but it's going to be good enough for my application and probably future applications for quite a while. So I just picked that one. So got a new blade for this chop saw as well because that one's a little bit worn out. Got some flat discs and cutting discs for this too. So I think that pretty much sums everything up. As for how I'm going to design this, the big square tube is basically going to act like a trailer receiver, like what you see on a truck. And then the small tubing will slide right into the big tubing, which the small tubing, there's going to be a small piece welded to here. So this will basically sit in like that. There will be tubing going out that way with a gusset from some of the plate steel for extra strength. Then I'm going to cut this like so. I'm going to take this piece and weld it on one side of the small tubing and the foot on the other side of the small tubing. Not going to weld it, I'm just going to pin it in there, and you'll see why in a second. But basically chopping that in half, putting it so it's like extremely long now. So that'll pin into there on the original jack, and then that way I can actually take that off and use the regular foot and the jack again. So basically I'll be able to set the whole camper on the ground again and then raise it up when I'm ready to use it. So it's a super good design in my opinion. It's basically the same exact thing as Homesteadonomics did with his truck camper, except his was all steel, so he basically welded the big square tube onto the main chassis of the thing itself. Mine's wood, so I can't quite do that, so that's why I got the plate steel. So it'll mount up onto the wood with like 6 bolts and everything. It'll be a super strong design. I'm very confident in it. So anyways, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to get everything set up and we'll start picking away at this thing. Alright, I got to cut 4 of these at 8 inches in length. Alright, this is basically how this thing's gonna go, jack wise. No, it will not be this long. There's absolutely no reason for it to be this long, but I wanted you guys to see what exactly the plan was. You can see the cut off part from those things are in there. That'll be welded to this, and a pin will go through it on this side, and then a pin will go through on this one. So I need to figure out where or how long these things need to be. I'm thinking this can probably be cut at like 2.5 maybe. I don't know. I need to figure that out right now. Alright, so I ran down there on the MB200 real quick and just did some quick measurements on the bottom half of that thing. And I have determined that 3.5 feet should be more than adequate for the extension. My truck sits pretty low. It's an older truck. A lot of the newer trucks sit much higher than the old ones do. So the bottom, pretty much max extension, which is kind of where that jack is right now. It does have a little bit more in it, I think. Max extension, it's about right there, so it's plenty for this thing, and it should be plenty for any modern truck that I might end up with in the future as well. Don't plan on it, but you never know, I guess. Anyways, I got 3.5 feet marked on this thing, and I'll have to do that 4 times. I should be able to get 2 out of this one, so that might mean I have some extra steel left over, which is nice for future projects. Bee was flying in my face. I don't think it likes the sound of this thing. Alright, there are 4 3.5 feet extensions. Now we need to weld those up, get those going, and then we got to make the mounts. So I'm going to fire up the welder and get the angle grinder out. I have to grind off this zinc plating that's on these things, and then yeah, it's that easy. Once I got all my surfaces prepped, it was time to throw on some tack welds, and I'd like to say right now that I am not an artesian welder, so these are not pretty, but they do work. Alright, so we got all 4 of these things done. I have been shut down for the day because the belt that needed to be replaced months ago on the drill press has finally snapped. I kept putting it off and I ultimately paid the price for it. So, well, guess that's what happens when you do stuff like that. Anyways, I might cut these extensions down to 3 feet instead of 3.5 because this is all the way down right now and it's like right where it's gonna sit on the truck. In fact, a little bit lower because the suspension is gonna go down. So yeah, these need to be cut down to 3 feet like I originally planned instead of 3.5, which is totally fine because I kind of planned for that to happen in case it was too big, because you can always take away material, you can't add it back. So it's good that we're oversized and not undersized. So I'll do that tomorrow. I got a new belt on order from Amazon, new belts. I'm replacing both of them. They should be here tomorrow, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. They say it will, but I don't believe that at all. Alright, one jack is officially standing on its own. Looks pretty good so far. All we need to do is add the 2-inch square tubing up here for the receiver, as well as add just a structural gusset for good measure. Then the jacks themselves will be done, and then after that we can make the mounting plates with the receivers on them that will bolt onto the camper itself. Then after that, I got some eye hooks. I'm going to take the remaining 2-inch square tubing that I still have, add that flat stock that I have over there as like a cap, and then weld this nut to it so this screws inside of it, and then I will have tie downs for when it's on the truck. I'll just slide them in where these things usually go, and it's that easy. After installing the feet on the remaining 3 jacks, I decided to weld up the actual mounting pieces on the jacks themselves that will slide into the receivers on the camper. These are about 12 inches long. They are the 2-inch square tubing, and they are being welded about 4¼ inches down from the top of the jack, and then the 3/16 gusset will be, of course, welded underneath that for extra structural support.
After welding up 3 more of those on the remaining jacks, I then moved on to make the receivers that will bolt up directly to the camper itself. This simply consists of the 3/16 plate and some 2.5-inch square tubing. The plate measures 6 inches wide by 12 inches long, so all I had to do was just cut my 12 by 12 plates in half, and I got 2 out of it, so that worked out pretty nicely. And then I just simply weld the 2.5-inch square tubing on top of that. The square tubing measures 8 inches long. The holes on the plate measure 5/16. There are 6 holes on there. Of course, the bolts will go through that into the camper itself. And then the hole on the square tubing is the standard hitch pin 5/8 diameter. Most standard drill bit kits are not going to have that 5/8 drill bit, so if you need to go get yourself some drill bits, you will need to get that one separately from the kit itself.
That is definitely the most I've used that welder yet. That was quite a bit of welding. I think I'm starting to get my money's worth out of that thing, so that's nice. Here is the finished product. Like I said earlier, I'm no artisan, but these should hold just fine. Here are the receivers that will bolt on to the camper itself. They just slide on like that. Put the other 4 hitch pins that I bought for that, and it's good to go. Just need to paint them now. Alright, I have the jacks in normal jack mode because this thing's on the ground, so that's the only way we're going to get it up. Just slide in like that on all 4 sides, and then we can start jacking this thing up. Look at that. All 4 jacks are in and they're raised, so this thing is floating, relatively speaking, and it's off the ground. So now I just need to max out these jacks, prop one up each at a time, get the extensions on them, and then we can get this thing all the way up in the air. So here we go. All right, that took way longer than it needed to, but I got it. Turns out these jacks also work really well as a gardening hoe. I had to do some cultivation to get them in there, but they're in there, and that is plenty high enough for my truck. So with that being said, it is time to dry fit this thing. It's gonna hang off the back a little bit because I have my box in there and the tailgate's on. So that's fine though. So I just have to clean up around here and see if it fits, I guess. Well, it's not over there anymore. It's over here. There are some things we had to fix with the framing. Like that. I don't know if you can really see that good, but it's there. I'm not sure what's going on with that or how it even happened. I really don't know. It's weird, but it's there and I had to figure out a way to fix it. All right, it is 2 weeks later. I really haven't had much of an opportunity to touch this thing because right after I made those jacks, the weather went completely foobar on me. It went from 75 and sunny down to 50, rainy, windy, stupid stuff. Just no chances whatsoever to actually work on this thing, but that is all over now. It's a beautiful day today, and I get to start working on this again. So I'm taking full advantage of that. I'm going to try and get everything that needs to be fixed today. And among the things that I did get to fix during that terrible weather time was I got some shorter bolts for these. These are all nice and tight now. And then I fixed this issue I was having where this was like that by adding this here. I shortened these studs a little bit and just added this to tie into the main thing. Kind of like what I did up there with the roof and the cab over. So that completely eradicated that issue. That's all mostly straight now. And as for the things I still need to do, I need to add a couple more studs here and there for the sheathing. Like I need to add one up here because there will be a seam right here between two pieces. So adding one right there, and then I'll measure every 48 inches and add a stud wherever a stud needs to be. So and then one of the last things I need to do is fix this over here where this thing broke. This stud here split, unfortunately. So I need to somehow fix that. And then after that, I think all the roughing construction will be done. Finally. I've been waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that, but it's gonna be done today. So yeah, I took off the box in the truck, so that's what it's going to be like actually sitting in there. So it fits very nicely. I wanted this gap up here to allow me to just kind of throw odds and ends in there when I'm traveling. So that worked out nicely. Looks really good though. Anyways, I'm going to finish all the things I need to do on this off camera, and we'll carry on at a later date.